About the wind down, as the government's phrasing it, of STC. Can you just tell us why you're the one speaking on that one today?
Well, I have been in communication with the business manager for ATU Local 1374, who's not in the city, and he had attempted to communicate with the employer because there was an announcement yesterday that they were shutting down routes for today and that they would be back in service by tomorrow. But he was unable to get answers, and the employer was not able to tell him what was going on. It's obvious why, because the employer, the publicly owned bus company, is being shut down by the government, and so the people who work for the bus company are now the unfortunate victims of this government's austerity and the elimination of that service and cutting it. So 220 families now have to struggle to make ends meet.
I know the government's rationale here is that it was just an unsustainable business model for them anymore, saying it costs $85 million over the next 5 years to continue to subsidize STC. Just what are your thoughts on that rationale?
Well, sometimes as a society, we subsidize different public services. I think in Saskatchewan, with a rural-based population like we have, that as a society we've decided that it's valuable to provide that kind of a rural bus service, particularly to our seniors who live in smaller communities. It allows them to get to cities, to go to doctor's appointments and so on and so forth. And so I think in the big scheme of things, the fact that we might spend $10 or $15 million a year to subsidize that kind of a service for citizens in this province who have given so much to our province is a pretty small price to pay. And what it illustrates is that the government's priorities are mixed up, because if they're prepared to shut down a service like that and do it as a result of an argument for austerity, but they're not prepared to take a look at whether or not they can save some money on a $2 billion contract to build a 50-kilometer road around the city of Regina, then that just says an enormous thing about where this government's priorities are. Obviously not on the seniors that live in rural communities that rely on this service, but more interested in, filling the bank accounts of corporations from out of country. That's the real story here.
And just from speaking with Doherty earlier today, he was saying this is one of the harder decisions that caucus made, especially lots of the rural members sharing some very strong views on the STC. Just what are your thoughts on Doherty saying this is one of the tougher decisions they made in this budget?
Well, I would imagine it was a tough decision. It would have been nice if he would actually had the courage to talk to the workers about it. Because while, this government can cry crocodile tears about the fact that, this was a really tough decision for us to make, what about the 220 people who woke up this morning and found out that their job was gone? And their union, the people who represent them in collective bargaining and negotiating across the table with the employer, couldn't even get answers when trying to find out from the employer what's going on. My members are phoning me, my phone is ringing off the hook, and the employer is saying, well, we can't tell you. Well, we can't tell you as we're marching you towards the elimination of your job. I'm sure that it was a really hard decision for them to make, but it wasn't nearly as hard as it's going to be for the people who are now out of work and have families to support after having lost their income as a result of a priority decision of this government today.
And just to wrap up here as well, too, just with mentioning primarily seniors in rural areas using STC bus services. Just what are your thoughts on right now? They don't know for sure if a private company like Greyhound might come in to replace STCs. What are your thoughts on them just kind of saying, we hope somebody comes in and picks this up?
Well, I guess if they hope that somebody's going to come in and pick it up, then perhaps it would have been a good thing for them to attempt to negotiate some sort of a deal. Because if there is someone sitting in the wings who is then going to buy this company or buy the assets of this company, then it seems to me that the people who work there should be able to expect that the collective agreements that they have in place that sets out the terms and conditions of their employment would apply to a new operator. But if what we're dealing with here is a government who wants to actually avoid their responsibility to the citizens of the province who actually work for these public institutions by engaging in these kinds of games, kind of like, let's redefine what the word privatization means so that we can sell off all of the crowns without having to go and have a vote of the citizens, even though we planned to do that. this sends a really strong signal to me that if the government of Saskatchewan is prepared to shut down the bus company in the way that they have, under the guise of austerity, then when Bill 40 passes, the change to the definition of privatization, every Crown corporation in this province is on the block. I have no doubt in my mind that that's their agenda, and shutting down the bus company in the way that they did underlines that in a very, very significant way.
Anything else you want to add there?
Nope.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay.